Great.
Cool.
Thanks everyone for being here. I want to thank Adam for kind of looping me into to this group of incredibly brilliant and forward-thinking individuals who are really driving something incredible in not just recycling, but I think in supply chain moving forward. So the conversation around EPR continues in Colorado, and hopefully we will put it to bed in the next week. That said, if the JBC indeed votes to move that policy forward, that's just the beginning of the work. Really, we have to put together a program plan, and then we have to develop end markets and find places for these materials to go. And in Colorado's current framework, we've done a really nice job correcting the collection problem and really bolstering the and starting to move the needle forward in the end market conversation and developing those end markets in Colorado. And there's still space in between where we're missing the mark, and it's not just Colorado, it's everywhere, right? Where we don't have efficient systems that use data and transparency and automation and AI to really streamline the system, make it more efficient, and make it cleaner. So that's where this solution comes in. And I hope you guys are as excited about it as I am and see the promise and the potential that this tool brings. I'm going to let the Matium team go through the specifics of what this does. But in summary, in a nutshell, this does everything in 5 minutes that would take hours to do and connects the entire system from producer to processor to transportation and other services. It connects the entire system in one validated place. It's super exciting. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Bailey and let the Matium team tell you more from here.
Awesome. Can you hear me right now? Cool. All right. I changed the view and now I can't see the mute button. Awesome. Thank you for that introduction, Jen. That was actually very good, and I like how simple it was. So thank you. But yeah, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to talk to all of you. A little bit about my background and kind of why I started this. I came out of University of Michigan for engineering. I took a job plastic brokering when I was 22 years old. And so to me, that meant absolutely nothing. And I didn't really know anything about it. Came into the industry and I sat down with 8 other guys that were cold calling people and asking them what they had and what they needed. And I saw that there was this just basically paper email trading transactional network that was happening that was like I didn't really learn it very quickly, but over time I realized that there's billions of dollars of plastics trade that happens per year, and for every single one of these transactions, people were cutting 10% for every single transaction. And so when Jennifer talks about like the space between the materials that you guys are collecting and recycling, and then the moment when that gets manufactured into a product, there's so much space between there that goes between many different hands, and every single one of those hands takes 10%. And so when I had kind of learned the industry after a couple of years, I actually met Adam through a cold call in my first year. And so after I started to learn kind of how to do the job, I found that it was mostly like, I looked at the plastics problem, and it was something that everybody had talked about and everybody cared about, and rightly so. But everybody thought that it was just too complicated to really solve. And so I wanted to dig into that, and like taking back from my engineering classes back in college, I mainly focused on lean manufacturing engineering, which was the whole purpose was finding the value add in a system and finding the non-value add in the system, which is just waste, and then trying to get rid of the waste. And what I found was that there was so much of this manual effort, there was so much of this informational loss, there was so much of this back and forth, like trying to do a transaction that's supposed to happen correctly and then simply not, and then causing logistical waste. And what I just saw was that this was just a huge network of waste, and nobody was ever able to quantify it. And so what it looked like from everybody else outside of the industry is that the industry has a problem, and the industry is the problem. And so like what I started to feel was that actually the industry was the only thing that was going to be able to get us out of this thing, and that it was the fact that the industry didn't have tools to do the job well was the reason why there was the problem. And so that was really why I started it, and why like I looked at the problem and just said, this is a problem worth solving. And then there's a bunch of people in this country that have jobs that this is all they do, and they keep on getting told that they're the reason why. They're dirty because they work in plastics. They're dirty because they make plastic products. And I talked with all these people. They're all my friends, and I'm like, they care just as much as you do, if not more. And so the whole purpose was just be the voice of the industry, make infrastructure that helps these people do their job better. And then my thought was that if we can make systems and tools that would help these people do their jobs better, then at that point, then I could then design these data models so that we could then give the data to the people who want to do the policy, so that we can actually move forward in a more like linear, strategic way. And so that was the whole philosophy around Matium, was just build better systems, get better data, make better decisions, and then move to a more sustainable future. So going off of that lean manufacturing concept, so my brain is very like in the clouds, and you might be able to tell after I talk for a little bit. But so in my head, it was, we need to start at the biggest problem. So let's solve the biggest problem first. So let's go with the first concept of supply. So for some people here, it might be that you get the cutoff fence post from a guy that's installing PVC fencing at a barn, or that you get the recycling from the Republic waste facility. But let's start at the first concept of supply, and then go to the final concept of demand, which is the time that PVC fence post gets turned into a new PVC siding, or it gets turned into a new PVC pipe. And so let's get that entire process, and then build the most efficient medium for that material to flow through. And so that's why it's called Matium, the material medium. Ever since then, we've really started to network the whole thing. And so that's where the industrial internet really came to become our tagline. Our values are work smart, be open, and move forward. To put that simply, like, we are strictly an efficiency, optimistic, transparent company. So that's what we want to bring to the industry, and that's what we have to do as ourselves. And so, kind of off of that founding story, our mission is to help humans create a sustainable future. The reason why it's not to go make a sustainable future is because, again, we just want to be an infrastructure company. So our whole focus is just like, what I hope to get out of this meeting is more about learning about what your guys' needs are, so that we can best build those into the system, so that come 6 months from now, that this is built for you and it covers all of your needs. So we always just want to be, I always want to be recruiting the best people. I always want to be hearing from the industry, so that we can really make this thing work for everybody. At the end of this, and I'll kind of back up to tell you guys a little bit about how we've built this. So what Jen started with saying is that we make the 60-minute job 5 minutes. That we call Matium Core. So that's really like the ERP, CRM, TMS. It's the all-in-one system that you can run your material business off of. We started with that first. We proved that out with a pilot group of customers last year. And then about 3 months ago, we started to launch the network. And so over the past few months of the network, then we started to onboard all of these companies. And so over the past month and a half, ever since we really let it go, we've had over 220 companies on board onto the network to really start creating that industrial internet. And then what this allows us to do is then open our ability to take supply of recycling products into the network, bring those into the people that actually provide those services, and then we can then take those products that those manufacturers finally create and then extend those out into the markets. So again, my whole vision is a full concept to consumer automation system so that we can get all the data in one place and also provide it in a simple, streamlined process where the people who are actually doing the work aren't the ones that are burdened with all the extra work. Like, it should be that your jobs get easier and then you click a button and you send out the data. Problems that we look to solve, I think that we probably all can see this in some parts of our efforts. The industry doesn't seem to be ready for EPR. I know a lot of people around the country that have just lack of information systems in general. I was talking with many of my customers when I was a broker who were working off of Google Sheets, or they would be on paper, they'd be on systems that were built in the 90s. And so we were trying to work with very fragmented, dirty data. And then we're trying to expect all these people to now do more reporting work within their system, within their companies, or pay for consultants or lawyers to actually then frame that data in a way that then can get exported to governments. And we're trying to make sure that that process is as easy as possible so that everybody can, again, just move forward. The other issue that we're looking at is that there are many people across this industry that are aging out of the industry right now. And so what I'm really concerned about is that when these people age out of the industry and then they are looking for someone to buy their business, or they're looking to have their son or daughter take it over, that all of that like valuable information is in their head and it's nowhere structured so that they can actually, so that the next person can take that on and start to actually perform in that business well. That's just one of the pieces there, but also we're simply not attracting a lot of people in this industry. We're not attracting, like when I was at Michigan, everybody wanted to go to Google. Everybody wanted to go to Amazon. I didn't hear a single person talk about going to manufacturing. And so I want to change the way that people look at manufacturing, because especially with AI and decreased energy costs, like America can be a manufacturing country if we just decide to make it one. The craziest real number here is that we generate 4 trillion pounds of waste per year as a human race. I believe that we can digitize and identify what those materials are with this system, and then provide those to the internet of providers of services that can turn those into value. And then kind of more in the clouds idea, we shouldn't be inflating prices while software and AI is happening. That actually that technology is inherently deflationary. So that's just shouldn't be happening in our country. What we look to provide to solve those, kind of off the vision slide, tracking full scope material data. So we've architected the material models so that material from start to finish is always, it has a material DNA, so that you're always able to track it. We are talking with some global companies to make sure that we can interface with some of the global standards that are out there. So that's another area where if there are people focused in solving that problem, I would love to get your ear and talk to you about it, and just make sure that our solution works with your solution or with your need. Simplifying, gamifying the work process within this industry. I think this is very important. This kind of goes to the part where we're just not attracting enough people to the industry. I think that, like, if you talk to Adam or Alex, I'm saying them because I know them. Like, this industry is fun. Like, if you really get it, then it's very fun, and you like to play the game, and it's very much a game. So I think that we can definitely gamify the production within this industry. Democratizing the recycling that comes from the internet access. So just the ability to, when you have if you have internet access and we provide you that button, you put in the information about the materials that you have to recycle, that hits our internet. And then now all of a sudden you have access to recycling that up until now you've been searching through Google and trying to find PET recyclers, and you keep on getting pet food suppliers, and just to make you actually find the things that you need. Connecting buyers and sellers, that's the inherent piece of the product. 6, this is another one. All of these transactions, when you look at the transactional world of this industry, you have information, logistics, and finance, and those are really the three pillars of any transaction. And so with information, we solve that by just structuring the data model so that you can easily think auto trader for materials. Like if you weren't an auto guru back in the 1980s and you were going to go try to be a car salesman, you wouldn't be as good as the guy who knew everything. But as soon as auto trader happened, then you can say I need a V6 and a rear wheel drive and I need a convertible, and it becomes much easier to then build that out and then find that. So for the logistics, the logistics right now, there's a lot of freight brokers that are involved. Again, it is transactional waste that happens that we need to get out of the industry. I'll move this over. And this is how we sell the product. It is free to join the network. So if you have a materials business, then we can onboard you as long as we verify that you do offer the services and the materials that you say. The Matium Access allows you to actually provide your branded materials and services to the network. This also allows you to actually get suggested within results when someone searches for the things that you provide. And then the Matium Core is that all-in-one system that you can run your entire business off of. And so currently the input is that you bring data in, like you have an offer, you have a need, you have an order, you have a shipment. The output is that you then send it to your accounting system. So if you run any recycling facility, all you need is Matium and a QuickBooks account. This is a little bit about what the network looks like. I think, Mitch, at this point, do you want to take on the video? Because I think the video will probably show a bit more about the product.
All right. It says, can you stop sharing?
Yep.
All right. So I'm just going to play this and then we'll dive into the network a little bit. Okay. Do you want to dive into it or?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, yeah, I thought that you were going to actually take it over there. But so what Mitch just showed you is, so that's the fully searchable network. So whenever you need to search for a certain company with a certain service, then you can search. So if you need someone that grinds a certain type of material in a certain location, then you can find that, and then you'll then get an optimized search result page. And so what our search engine really does for you is, if you guys have scrap, let's say polypropylene scrap in an area, then you could put that into the system. You could either then go search and actually view which companies support services that can take that in, or you could actually go, if you have the core profile, and you'll put that in, and then you can actually match that with the needs that are on that market. So what that does is it runs an algorithm in the background which says which of the needs in the market are most fitting with the material specifications, what is the closest like in terms of distance, and what also matches with pricing. So what that does is there's thousands of material offers at any given point within the market, and the issue that happens on the market is that there's brokers like who I used to be, where they're trying to then basically just make the most money. And so a lot of times your scrap offers are never even getting to the people who should see it, where we then just skip that entire process. So now if you guys have recycling that is not being touched, then you have full price control, at which that price control should then increase your ability to then sell that material quickly.
I'm gonna say something real quick, just based off of when I was out with you guys at the Ed Market Development Center, and everybody was kind of having a conversation about one thing that kind of lacks, or it's just a difficult thing necessarily understand, is being able to make those connections within our own network. There's all these people that we see around or we've heard of, but sometimes we don't know exactly what they do or how they would actually fit into our business. And when we go on Google for a company like these types of companies in this space, it's very hard to make sense of all of it. So what Matium does is really brings that network together. And when the network is live in its current state, being able to go find somebody right down the street to actually work with that you may have not even known was there, or was somebody that would actually make sense to fit into your business, is it's something that's really powerful at this point.
All right. We're gonna segue into the core video, Mitch.
Yes.
All right, Bailey, and if you don't mind voicing over a little as we roll through.
Yeah, sorry. I thought I had those swapped. Mitch, if you're
Oh,
sharing.
yeah, I'm sure. No, I'm not. This one has sound, so do you want me to take the sound off so Bailey can speak? Yeah, just do that.
It depends on what song you have. Okay, so Core is the all-in-one platform for you to manage your material business. And so we took your company management. There's a very simple CRM, but unlike other industries, CRM is focused on closing companies. In this industry, we have to focus on closing deals. And so we're focused on taking haves and needs of materials, matching those, and then trying to increase your ability to get to a transaction. So Matium's identity is in getting you transactions. And so this is walking through how you would, so this is showing you that you get a match, calculates off of the material rating. You can right there create an order. It autofills all the information. You create your purchase orders. You can get immediate freight rates right from the system. You can do all of your paperwork here. So your BOLs, your packing lists, your shipping confirmations, and everything. And then at that point, at the end, then it then pushes you out to your accounting platform, and then you're done. So unlike an old software where you have to just go to the office and you have to sit there, and you have to do all your paperwork, transfer it from one piece to another. This works on your phone. This works on your laptop. This works wherever, and it's just from someone who, I used a software that was built for billion-dollar businesses, and I wanted to make something better. And so this piece of software is a much easier tool to use if you're just trying to get through your paperwork and get it done quickly. And I always thought that was important for everyone that's in the industry, because I want everybody in the industry to be focused on improving their plant efficiency, talking with the people that are around their markets, problem solving, like actually doing the business. I looked at like the paperwork side and the data management side as something that was just, it was a waste for most of the job, right? So we try to just make sure that experience is as seamless as possible.
Awesome.
And then Mitch, are you taking over at this point?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
after Matium Core, Matium Network are really what we are right now in our current state, and this is evolving by the day, and it's really exciting, because one thing that we didn't really get into through those two videos, but which is happening very soon for us, is when we make our big commercial launch next month, in May, at the NPE conference, which is, I like to call the Olympics of plastics. It only happens every 3 or 4 years, and there's thousands of people there. Is we're taking the network, where people are able just to come together and connect and find those different opportunities we're talking about. And then we're also taking that core platform where you're able to run your entire business, match make opportunities, and really take that data to empower your business. And we're connecting them together where you're now going to be able to have the ability to share opportunities with people in your network. So a lot of different people have tried to create marketplaces in the raw materials space. But what happens is that takes the human out of it. It takes the relationship out of it. You can't just have this place where you put this price out and it's the same for everybody. It's for relationships that drive this business, and relationships are never going to be taken out of this business. So we hear so much about AI and disruption and how we're going to change the world. And that is all happening, but the relationships still land at the core of this. So Matium's truly, truly focused on not just building new relationships for people, but also empowering their current relationships. And like me and Billy talk about it all the time. Someone's like, oh, well, this is like a robot that's going to replace my job. I like to talk to people. We're like, well, if you could go do a transaction in 5 minutes compared to 2 hours, you could go talk to the guy on the golf course and have a more meaningful conversation. So really what we're trying to do is empower people. And it's exciting to see where this is going. The other thing that we're trying to really do is empower causes. So something that we've been looking into and something that's going to be on our product roadmap that we're excited to share is the ability to work with organizations to be able to really track the data that matters. I keep referencing that last meeting I was at for end market, but some of the big things that came out of it were people saying that they needed more data and they needed better investments. But we know that investments are driven by data. And a lot of data right now is just not very quantifiable. There's no definitive measures that people are using throughout the space. So it's hard to make this different decisions. But we want to be able to empower people with those decisions. So one thing we're looking into and one thing that's going to be coming up is basically taking what we just showed from a standpoint of people who are actually in the space and businesses that are in the industrial space and giving the normal businesses that you wouldn't necessarily think about as recycling businesses the power to interact and kind of own that part of their supply chain. So an example you'll see in this video would be somebody on a job site who has a roll-off full of PVC. They usually wouldn't know what to do with it, maybe have to pay to get it hauled off, but I know Adam could take that. And I know that the city and the state and all these organizations would probably very much appreciate making that connection because we have a roll-off PVC from XYZ construction company. Adam's then able to take it, turn it into recycled material, raw material, and then hopefully where this is going is then we'll have somebody right here in the same city, same place that can take that and put it into a finished good and just keep that circularity going. So what we'd like to do is be able to take our platform and really help push that and empower everybody to kind of get involved and also provide the organizations that make the decisions and the investments, the data that can back up why this works and why this is a good idea and how it's not just going to help everybody from a sustainability factor, but also from an economic factor, because we all know that at the end of the day, if people aren't making money, they're not going to do it. So our goal is to be able to prove all of that through numbers. So here's a quick video that we put together on what we are going to be putting together as far as a program for that space, and excited to hear any feedback. 1 second. Also, yes, we do show favoritism. Adam is literally in every one of our videos.
Yeah, Mitch, you can voice this over a little bit here if you want.
Do a little voiceover, yeah. So somebody just went onto our website and took a picture of what they have at their job site, and it got matched up with Adam. And you see just like this, there's matches here that are saying that Adam's usually working with PVC and he could use this. So it automatically routes the guy to Adam. From there, Adam's able to create a shipment and tell the guy, hey, I'm going to come pick this up. Then the waste is diverted. Great, hurrah, everybody. Recycle Colorado is going to get reporting on this if it's companies that are within their organization or part of this pilot that they'd be a part of, to basically help quantify what happened and how we diverted waste, or any other data that might be prevalent to the entire situation for being able to make investment or drive policy decisions. So I know it went through fairly fast. I'll run through it a little quicker. But right now, to be on Matium, you have to have an account. You have to be vetted. You have to be a business. Where this is going is we're just going to have a public facing button where if you're a CVS with a bunch of knockdown crates behind you, you can take a picture, say the information, fill out a quick form. And then based off of that, for example, this was where there's PVC pipe at a job site. Then where is it on the job site? It's going to be submitted, and then it's going to be routed to a local recycler who is usually in need of that. Adam would get an alert saying that somebody has something that matches with what you're usually looking for. And then he's going to be able to say, okay, this is great, create an order, get the match, and then be able to book the shipment with that person. And then we will be able to compile all of that data to be able to put it into a form that helps us make different decisions, whether it be for sustainability or for economic reasons. I'll stop sharing now.
And just to clarify, a quick second on that like matching algorithm. That matching algorithm is running the exact, like off of the exact needs that Adam and other recyclers have entered into their systems, so that it is only running against people who can actually provide that service. And then also telling them exactly what the economics are behind it. So we have a freight automation tool that's giving us exact freight rates across the entire country, so that we can then say, okay, Adam, this is going to cost you this much to get it here, and it's factoring in how much weight's going to be on that truck. And then he can then look at it and know based on his market that he's selling that material if it's economic or not. And then the state is then seeing from us, okay, you had 500 recycling requests for this year, and 100 of them happened, and 400 of them didn't. 400 of them didn't happen, and this is why. You had 200 of them that came from this location where the distance was too far. You had 200 that came from this location, and it's because, or 200 that came from ABS. And the reason why you can't recycle ABS is because there's no end market for ABS. There's no end market for ABS in the state, or it's not close enough. And so the insights into what like the actual material spectrum is in Colorado can be totally shown if that button becomes adopted here.
All right.
Mitch, are you
Yeah, I think
Mitch,
we're
yeah.
I think we're up and down. That is our presentation there. I know it's quite a lot. We opted to do a lot of the videos because we can go through core completely in about 3 hours. So we figured we would do it as efficiently as possible. If anyone wants to set up individual time or demos, we are very happy to accommodate that and do that. But I think now would be a generally appropriate time. I think Jen put it in the chat. If anyone has any questions or want to foot stomp anything, please feel free to ask them, and we'll address them as they come.
So Neil's
features,
asking. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Neil asked which features are available today. So there are so we proved out the core functionality, which the core functionality is the ERP, TMS, CRM hybrid, the all-in-one platform to run your material business on. We proved that out with 5 companies in a few different verticals of the industry last year. And then ever since then, we basically held off on onboarding new companies till about 2 weeks ago. About a month ago. And so since then, we've got roughly 30 companies that are using the core platform to run their business on it. So that's for the all-in-one platform. That's where you're not actually on the network. It's just it operates as your material management system. That includes the paperwork generation, the tracking haves and needs, which are the supply and demand items that you want to track. That includes the full scale analytics. That includes the internal company chat and communication feature. It would get longer to list. The network is also available as well. The only thing that really doesn't exist now that we just showed was the recycling on demand pickup. And we are simply just waiting to do that until we have enough of a network density in a certain area that we decide is the place that we pilot it. So the back end ability to do that from a technology perspective exists. It's just a matter of when we turn that on. The one huge thing that's launching that doesn't exist yet is the trading on the network, which comes out in May. So that's, if you look at Core, it's the thing that you run your business on. The trading inside of Core works. The network where you actually trade on the network rather than just find directory items to say, oh, I need this recycler, I need this manufacturer, I need this. That exists now, but the trading with those recyclers and manufacturers on the network launches on May 5th at the NP show. It's a huge happens every 3 years recycling show down in Orlando, Florida. And happy to provide context.
Yeah, Neil said he's got a recycler for us. Mitch, would it be best just to have Neil send an intro email with his recycler contact and you, so you can get them set up?
That would be great. Thank you, Neil.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah, we also just added our emails in there as well. But also, I mean, so
Haley, oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
You mind if I talk a little bit?
Yeah.
All right. So, Brandy, Emily, Neil, Caesar, everybody that's on this call, right? Liz, this industry obviously lacks data. Colorado is trying to lead policy initiatives and implement programs here as some of the first in the country. And we have some of the worst recycling rates, obviously. So this type of technology, and I know that, we showed some videos and didn't necessarily do a full demo, but I can promise everybody here, like Neil's seen it in his group, it's a very intricate system that does a whole lot of good. And so our intent right now is we're building up direct polymers and trying to build in the post-consumer infrastructure and the more compounding infrastructure, including some of the end market stuff that we're looking at. We're intending to basically use this system in order to help the state track more data. So the ability for us to add a simple button, which we're planning to do here in the near future, which is just schedule pickup. If you look at it from a state perspective with EPR, we're trying to recycle bottles in Steamboat Springs and Avon and Breckenridge and Alamosa and the Eastern Plains. And I mean, it's applicable to Wyoming and New Mexico and areas that are just like greatly underdeveloped and historically have shipped things in containers overseas and just packed those containers out. This area needs a lot more development. This software is like very cutting edge, awesome stuff. But the way that we can use it is if we, being the only plastics recycler in addition to Tim, so if Tim and I basically have everyone request pickups on this software, which is don't use the software if you don't want to. I mean, once you get a look at it, I think a lot of people will use it. But even just the ability to request pickups, when the state of Colorado goes to allocate grant funds and do other things and assess our diversion rates here, simply knowing that we had 20 requests for pickups from the mountain towns and we were only able to satisfy 2 due to cost or due to some other factor, because this software allows us to do that, is very important, because it allows us to say, if we were only able to fulfill 5% of the requests that came in for pickups in the areas that are now going to be required to have EPR, maybe those funds should be allocated there. It also allows us to say, we've taken 6 to 12 months of data collection in, and we can prove that there's 1 million pounds a month of HD fractional melt bottle that's produced here, which would be a great end market for XYZ product. So instead of the state kind of shooting from the hip and saying, we read 10 pages and it sounds really good, and we think that we should basically fund this grant program, we can actually have some data behind it to say the materials here to justify this proposal, right? There's also packaging things where the CAA is about to get very involved here with packaging and how we oversee the correct recycling of that packaging. And if I could go tell them we received 80,000 pounds of ketchup bottle PET with an EVOH barrier, and we had zero demand for that in 2 months, then maybe they can start to understand they should rethink that packaging. There's all kinds of ways to use data and software like this, which really doesn't exist in this industry, to like truly make it better on really simple metrics to start. And then if once companies do understand the impact that this system specifically, because it learns so well and because it's so interactive with the users, once people understand the true impact that this thing can have and how easy it is to get things done on. I mean, our company's running it full time right now, and I like, this isn't an exaggeration. I can do 10 times the brokerage that I could typically do with one transaction. And we're operating our company way more efficiently with paperwork, inter-office communication, shipping, everything is going better. And I'm not trying to sell it. I'm being honest, and Colorado needs a lot of help with that. So I think that once people understand that it really does help, then we can start using it more in this state together. Like Republic, we're doing a lot of their trash carts, right, Neil and Brandy? So if you need trash cart pickups, you just request it from me. You need a price on it, you just request it. And we can have a much more seamless process for getting this done. And again, Colorado specifically, I think needs a lot more collaboration because we're a small state, we're on an island. Like we only have a few people who handle the specific streams as far as getting them recycled. And the state really wants to help with making it better here. And with passing EPR, I can tell you that if we don't build up infrastructure like I'm looking at, and if we don't start implementing some things like this, it potentially could become a worse situation, right? But that packaging needs to be recycled. So I'm just trying to add my 2 cents because everybody's making a really big push right now. And as you're talking to anybody else throughout the state, or we're having these meetings and we're having our summits, like I think we need to start really talking about this and collaborating more, because we talk about it a lot, or I should say doing something about this. We talk about it a lot, but our rates don't ever really get better. So I think it's, in my eyes, like it's just time to kind of bring it together. And I do see this as a very integral piece. And the Matium team is really interested in getting involved here and trying to help the companies here specifically because EPR is being passed and because we're a small state that needs more help.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. And I want to briefly hop on what you just said and also answer Neil's question. Yeah, I think that this only gets better if everyone does it together. And to be very clear, like Neil asked if I have preferred hauler, is there a way to add them to the service that you are using? My response is that we take zero position in the market. We are like, if you leave with one thing, at least from like what our intentions are to be an infrastructure company that provides the best tools that we possibly can to this industry. And we take no position. So whoever you want on this platform, you can put it on this platform. I've been asked, like, can we white label your software? I just responded with, you can hop on for free and make your own network on the software. Like it's just a tool for you to use. Like, and so Colorado, like if you guys want to make a Colorado group and you guys have an entire Colorado group that's a closed network on Matium, like that's supported there. You guys can really do whatever you want. And all I ask is that you guys just tell us what we need to do to make it better. Like the way that we run our business is, I came from brokering. I was making a bunch of money per transaction. I'm just trying to do the opposite, trying to do as many transactions as possible and make the least amount of money per transaction so that we can just grow the company and solve the biggest problem. So yeah, I mean, we can do whatever you need. And as an infrastructure product, we're not trying to sell this thing, just explain it.
Let me add one more quick thing. I know there's questions. These will take 2 seconds. The last thing I wanted to add too with the environmental reporting, I would say that from my experience dealing with the big and the small companies, and Tim can probably back this up too, I think the bigger companies are looking for more corporate, like corporate consolidation to make things easier and more streamlined within the corporations, but you have a lot of small business recyclers, especially in down markets like this, who need work and are willing to put in the work to get things done. But there's no connection point between that. The big companies don't understand that we're here and willing and ready to do things, and they also want this data as far as environmental and everything else. So I see this software as being a connectivity point where you're able to tap in a Coca-Cola who wants to know that if they can save this much carbon by sending it 1.5 miles across the street instead of going to Southern California, like that's a big deal to them. It's a bigger deal to them than getting a 5 cent per pound rebate on HDPE plastic, right? But they also have their big corporate structures where they want to streamline communication and get things done in a way that there needs to be a way to connect them and let them know that companies like ours are willing to do things for them and get local recycling done in order to save that carbon footprint and increase their margins and do all kinds of other stuff. So sorry, that was the last thing.
I have a quick question to hop in on. So what I think Adam is saying here is that in a down market, it's a really tough industry to be in after freight, after operations costs, and using this technology and the data of where toll processes are or other recyclers. There might be opportunities, say with Coca-Cola, with other locations that might not be a good fit for the Denver spot, but we'll have strategic partners in different states that we can connect the dots with, and that will help the small recyclers not only stay in business but keep that circularity going. So it's really going to connect the dots and cut down the cost of processing and freight fees, and kind of hopefully down the road study out the cost evaluation moving forward for the secondary market, hopefully.
Yeah, and am I allowed to share one picture that actually might help a little bit? Yeah. All right. So this is what our engineering team works on, or works off of, to like have a perspective on how the industry works. So this is our entire scope here. But like basically what I look at with this is that everybody generates material either here, 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 and we try to minimize the amount that goes here. But these are going to pay so much, and so all these lines, this is where Matium matters. And right now, all these lines are where people make a lot of money. And every time that margin happens in this industry, money is taken out of the system for just personal profit. And what it does is then it eliminates the economic viability of these materials getting downstream. And so every time that like these lines are not efficient, it basically eliminates it. It backs things up here. These guys run the entire pricing, by the way. So these guys fully run the pricing. So we're always trying to figure out how we can get the material recovery facilities, the PCR facilities, and the PIR facilities to be able to compete against how much resin gets supplied into the markets. That is always the economic fight between the recycling and the resin community. And again, consumers will only pay so much.
And it's important to note that this industry, a lot of people don't understand this. There's tons of money in this industry. And the reason that people make so much money half the time is because of the lack of transparency. It's intentional, yes. Right? So, but the problem is the industry doesn't understand that because we lack that transparency, we go in these massive volatile swings that never allow the diversion rates to actually get better. And the fact that we're so inefficient because of that, and because we deal with the volatility, that if we actually did create more connectivity like this, not only would we be more efficient and get things done more, but everybody would probably make the same money. So that's kind of what the big push between this Matium software and some of the new things as far as providing more transparency and, like I said, pitching more collaboration. It's like you're either going to have these excess costs that people just don't pay attention to the fact that while they're making more money, but in down markets, everybody struggles and complains about it. And it's like, instead of operating on this huge volatile curve, why wouldn't you just float right here in the center the whole time? It's the exact same thing, right? So
yeah, and I'll just piggyback. And ultimately, like Bailey said, like it doesn't make sense for in an information age with technology why prices continue to go up. Prices continue to go up because people keep clipping coupons all the way along the way, right? So then the end consumer has to effectively pay all those clips along the process.
Yeah, it's just that there's a finite bucket of money that has to go towards recycling that people are willing to pay downstream. And we just need to increase our efficiency as a recycling industry so that we get more pounds through that finite bucket. That's basically the problem that we try to solve in the clouds back here. so that everybody can have fun and do their jobs and run a cool plant and have a cool business.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, this is a bit revolutionary, I would say, in terms of transforming how things are moved around and making it more efficient. Are you encountering resistance from those? So you mentioned that there's a bit of profit each step along the way, and part of what you're doing is eliminating those steps. So are you encountering resistance or obstacles from the people that are going to be cut out of this chain?
Yeah, so it's a bit of game theory. I will allude to Jeff Bezos's quote of "Your margin is my opportunity." So I do look at that. But yes, we've gotten pushback from brokers, but the thing is we have strategized this business very much in game theory. So if luckily we're kind of past the point where we're past the point where it doesn't work at all. We've gotten hundreds of customers to come on that network, and now and they're the right customers. So there's enough there is enough of a network velocity there already, and so now it's much more of, if you're not on this platform, we designed the network transaction layer as such that we show you exactly how much money you can make. We sort those deals for you. I was a broker, and I was when I joined the company that I was with when it was 8 guys, they were doing 9 million pounds. In my third year, so that was 9 million pounds a month. In my third year, I did 10 million pounds a month myself, and so I really knew how the matchmaking system worked from a manual perspective. And so the first thing that I focused on was making the best trading tool. And so now we have the best trading tool. And now if you're a trader and you don't hop on using the best trading tool, you will get beat out by the people who do. But the people who do are now then trading with the recyclers and the manufacturers direct. And therefore it's kind of done. But yes, there are people who are mad.
Bailey, I would probably add that those are probably the ones that don't have as much overhead costs when you're talking about equipment, facilities.
Yes.
You're cutting out the the third party. For example, if I'm buying something from Arizona and I'm basically the middleman and I'm buying it and then selling to a compounder up in the Midwest, I mean, yeah, I made a little bit of profit on that transaction, but the Michael Liptons in the world in Arizona in a down market and any market need that support of connecting the dots with the end user. And there's too many people out there have felt the pain and the hurt and the cost of recycling, that there's too many people that have committed long term and have facilities that are bought in, and the last couple of years have been tough. So yeah, there's too many people on board for it not to work at this point. So you're either going to accept the changes that are coming, or you're going to continue to use Excel. And I don't think that that's going to work out for much longer.
Yeah, I'll quote one of my. I come from the Navy world. I quote one of my favorite admirals who just recently posted a video about people not liking change. So it's like the people who say they don't like change are going to like irrelevancy a whole lot less. So that's effectively where it is.
And I would like to bring attention to Jennifer's comment in the chat. We've got a couple of folks from the local government, and although many of the local governments do not actually broker these materials, it's my suspicion they would want that information. They would want to have some of access to the reporting about where are these materials going and what did they get turned into. But I'll hesitate for a second and invite any of our local government folks to speak up. And are you seeing something in this tool that is going to benefit some of your sustainability and reporting goals?
And if not, what would you like to see? What would be valuable to you?
Yeah, I can comment. This is Hayden Van Andel from the town of Breckenridge. Yeah, I mean our small town, we don't really do much brokering at all. But I think having more transparency surrounding the materials that are coming in and leaving our community is a big one. We, as far as managing our data, I think we've struggled as every community has in just knowing, what those numbers look like. And I think our county run landfill and MRF, they could benefit from this. So I'm going to be sharing this with them. And I think it'll just help our community at large with every aspect. So yeah, great job, guys.
Thank you. And yeah, for sure on the MRF side as well. That's I guess a quick question for you though. On the materials, could you give me a little insight into what those are and where those typically get? Like, do those typically go to a MRF? Just so I know kind of in that network picture where you sit.
Yeah, so currently we don't have a single hauler system here in Summit County. We have private haulers that collect municipal solid waste, recycling. We're working on more like C&D diversion, those kind of materials. But ultimately, we do have I'm drawing a blank on the term, but where the haulers have to take it to our local landfill and MRF. They can't take it outside of our community, any of the materials. So our MRF can capture all those materials and then process them and send them to secondary markets and end markets. So our MRF is seeing plastics 1 and 2s. Really, we don't see anything outside of that locally. We do have a contract with WM that takes our single stream recycling because our MRF just isn't big enough to process it. So they take our single stream, bale it as a bulk material, and then take it to a WM down in the Front Range that processes it. But any source separated materials that are collected up here, our MRF processes those, bales them, and then they have those partnerships with their end markets. I'm not super versed in their operations, but something along those lines, I think they could benefit from this, right? Kind of streamlining that with the pricing and everything. They'll just benefit from that market shift as it kind of takes hold. But that's currently how we have our marketplace set up here in Summit County. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I put into the chat again, in case anybody missed it, both Bailey and Mitch's contact information. We will be posting this recording on the website, so feel free to drive other people to come and look at it later. And as I said at the beginning, we're going to hear from Matium again at the Summit for Recycling in June. So just because we have to end today doesn't mean the dialogue has to cease. But in respecting everyone's time, we have reached the top of the hour. So I am going to close this out and say thank you so much. Thank you, Matium. Thank you, Mitch and Eric and Bailey and Jennifer for being here. Thank you, Adam, for attending and sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much for making this a very informative lunchtime activity. You all have a great rest of your day, and Allie, whenever you're ready to close us out, we'll wave goodbye.